afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're sad to announce that there's been we're investigating a triple homicide here in the city of Columbia.
Sherry Coleman's final evening seemed like any other. A loving mother of two, she tucked her sons into bed, looking forward to an evening with her husband, Chris. They spent the night planning an upcoming family trip to Disney World. Oddly, Chris, known for complaining about spending money, appeared unusually cooperative. While Sherry noticed his strange demeanor, she dismissed it, choosing to enjoy the rare moment of peace. But as the night wore on and they retired to bed, Sherry had no inkling that this ordinary evening would mark the end of her life. Born in 1977 to devout Christian pastors Ron and Connie Coleman, Chris's upbringing was deeply rooted in faith. Alongside his brothers, he grew up immersed in the teachings of their non-denominational church, embracing conservative values and engaging in practices like speaking in tongues. Despite his religious background, Chris had a sensitive side. His father recalled an incident where witnessing the butchering of a rabbit left Chris in tears for hours, a testament to his compassionate nature. After high school, Chris was drawn to the discipline of the United States Marine Corps, enlisting straight after graduation. Excelling in the Marines, he seemed poised for a long military career until political events surrounding President Bill Clinton disillusioned him. Chris's path crossed with Sherry Wisses, a fellow military member serving in the U.S. Air Force. Born in Cook County, Illinois, Sherry was open-minded and spirited, a stark contrast to the conservative Coleman family. When Chris introduced Sherry to his parents during a visit to Chester, Illinois, their reception was frosty. They labeled her a whirly little girl due to her leg tattoo and casual attire. Despite their disapproval, Chris and Sherry eloped in a private ceremony, much to his parents' shock. Their marriage quickly revealed cracks, as Chris expressed regret about their hasty decision. Shortly after, news of Sherry's pregnancy added another layer of complexity to their union. Chris and Sherry's family expanded with the births of their sons, Garrett in 1998 and Gavin in 2000. They settled in Columbia, Illinois, a quiet town near the Mississippi River, where Sherry embraced her role as a homemaker while Chris worked as a bodyguard for televangelist Joyce Meyer. However, their marriage faced persistent challenges. Chris's demanding job kept him away for extended periods, creating a strain on Sherry and their boys. The children even marked a countdown calendar, eagerly anticipating his returns. Financial disagreements also plagued their relationship. Despite earning over $100,000 annually, Chris resented Sherry's spending on shopping, mission trips, and charitable donations. Their arguments about money became a recurring theme. Adding to the tension was a lack of affection in their marriage. Sherry confided in friends about Chris's emotional distance, even in intimate moments. Friends observed the couple rarely displaying affection, and Chris's conservative upbringing often clashed with Sherry's more free-spirited nature. By late 2008, their marital issues reached a breaking point. Chris confided in a friend about his plan to divorce Sherry after the holidays. Meanwhile, Sherry grew suspicious of Chris's fidelity, suspecting him of having an affair with one of her friends. Despite these challenges, Sherry remained committed to saving their marriage while Chris hesitated, fearing that a divorce might jeopardize his position at Joyce Meyer Ministries. Amidst their personal turmoil, a sinister threat emerged. Chris began receiving death threats targeting him and his family. These threats, linked to his work with Joyce Meyer, accused the televangelist of preaching nonsense and ominously warned of harm to Chris's family while they slept. These ominous threats, sent to both Chris Coleman's work email and his home, prompted him to involve the local police. During his business trips, his neighbor, a Columbia Police Department officer, kept a close watch on the Coleman residence, even pointing a camera toward the house for added security. The threats reached a terrifying crescendo in April 2009 when Chris received a chilling message. "This is my last warning. Your worst nightmare is about to happen." On the morning of May 5, 2009, Chris Coleman left his home at approximately 5:45 a.m., heading to St. Louis for his morning workout. Shortly after leaving, he called Sherry to check if she was awake. When she didn't answer, he tried calling her multiple times during his workout, but still got no response. Concerned, Chris called his neighbor, the Columbia police officer, as he was driving home. He asked him to check on Sherry and the boys because something felt wrong. The officer and another member of law enforcement arrived at the Coleman home and immediately noticed something unusual. A window screen at the back of the house had been removed. They called for backup before entering. Inside, they were struck by an overwhelming smell of spray paint and discovered disturbing graffiti scrawled across the walls. Messages like, "Punished," "I am always watching," and "You have paid" were ominously spray painted throughout the home. At 6:56 a.m., Chris returned home. But something didn't add up. The drive from his gym should have taken 5 minutes, yet it had taken him 13. Outside, officers asked him to remain by his vehicle as they investigated upstairs. What they found was devastating. Garrett, Gavin, and Sherry Coleman were all discovered lifeless, sending shockwaves through the tight-knit community. When the police chaplain broke the news to Chris, he collapsed in tears, seemingly overwhelmed with grief. His father and Joyce Meyer soon arrived to offer comfort. While sobbing inside an ambulance, officers noticed something unusual: red marks on Chris's knuckles. When questioned, Chris explained that he had been repeatedly punching the gurney out of frustration and sorrow. Chris was taken to the Columbia Police Department for an initial interview. He described the previous day as ordinary. He had spent time playing with his sons and watching TV with Sherry. After putting the boys to bed, he said they cuddled until Sherry fell asleep in his arms. The next morning, he left for his workout and became worried when Sherry didn't answer his calls, prompting him to ask his neighbor to check on the family. However, certain details of his story raised red flags. Chris didn't mention his home's security system until prompted by investigators, even though it could have recorded an intruder. When reviewed, neither his system nor his neighbor's surveillance cameras showed anyone entering or leaving the house, except for Chris himself. Questions about Chris's marriage brought further inconsistencies. While he admitted to some marital issues, he denied having an affair. He did mention a close friend, Tara Lentz, but insisted their relationship was purely platonic. However, Tara, a longtime friend of Sherry's, was about to reveal a very different story. In Florida, investigators questioned Tara, who confirmed that she and Chris had been romantically involved. Their affair wasn't a fleeting fling, it was serious. They had exchanged promise rings, planned to marry in January 2010, and even discussed baby names. Shockingly, Chris had canceled his family's Disney World trip and instead booked a romantic Virgin Islands cruise with Tara. She revealed that Chris intended to serve Sherry with divorce papers the same day the murders occurred. As the investigation progressed, Chris's behavior only deepened suspicions. Neighbors and friends were appalled when he dismantled a memorial for his late wife and sons in their front yard. By mid-May, he began moving boxes of their belongings out of the house, adding to the growing unease about his actions. The breakthrough moment in the investigation came with DNA testing from under Sherry Coleman's nails. While the results showed a consistency with Chris Coleman, the match wasn't definitive. Investigators also scrutinized other evidence, including paint fragments from the walls, electronics like laptops and a BlackBerry, and various items from the home. Still, the burning question remained: did Chris's trail of lies ultimately lead to murder? The Cybercrimes Unit turned its focus to the threatening emails sent from destroychris@gmail.com. In a shocking twist, the investigation traced the IP address of these emails back to Chris Coleman's own laptop. It became evident that someone had used this device to draft and send the disturbing messages. Adding to the suspicion, the emails contained the same spelling errors commonly found in Chris's known writings. The autopsies later revealed that Sherry, Garrett, and Gavin had all been strangled to death. A critical finding from the medical examiner pinpointed their time of death to before 5 a.m., a time frame when Chris was still at home. Rigor mortis observed in Sherry's body provided further support for this timeline, painting a grim picture of what had occurred. As investigators analyzed the spray-painted messages on the walls, they found another connection. Forensic handwriting experts determined that the style matched Chris Coleman's known writing samples. The spray paint itself, a distinct candy apple red, was traced back to a specific brand. Bank statements revealed that Chris had purchased a can of this exact paint from a St. Louis hardware store just months before the murders. With these damning pieces of evidence in place, authorities made their move. In May 2009, Chris Coleman was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and taken into custody. Not long after, Sherry's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against him, aiming to block the liquidation of assets, including the family home. As the case gained momentum, troubling accounts from Sherry's friends began to surface. One friend recalled Chris complaining about wanting a divorce, but Sherry resisted. She claimed he told her that she was standing in the way of his divine destiny. The trial, held in April 2011, revealed shocking details about Chris Coleman's double life. Tara Lintz, Chris's mistress and Sherry's high school friend, became the prosecution's star witness. She testified about their plans to marry, the promised rings they exchanged, and the explicit photos they sent to each other. The testimony painted a clear picture of Chris's motives. Dr. Raj Naduri, the pathologist, couldn't establish an exact time of death, but estimated it occurred between 3 o'clock and 5 a.m., aligning with the investigators' timeline. Even Joyce Meyer took the stand, acknowledging that Chris's affair, or a divorce, could have jeopardized his job at her ministry. Despite Chris's attempts to fight the conviction, as of 2024, all of his appeals have been denied. He remains behind bars, likely for the rest of his life. Yet no amount of justice can undo the loss of Sherry, Garrett, and Gavin. Their lives were stolen in one of Southern Illinois' most haunting crimes, an unthinkable betrayal by the person they trusted most. What do you think of this chilling case? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories.